All right, welcome back to another episode of Down Under the Crossbar podcast. Arsenal from an Aussie angle. I'm Brendan Bradford, joined as always by Steve Peios, mate. How was your weekend? I know we've both been had a couple of sleepless nights watching late night footy and all the rest of it over the weekend. How you going?
Good, thanks, mate. Really good. Yeah, it was a nice weekend for the most part with family, taking it easy, watching plenty of soccer as always, and a bit of boxing yesterday's too. Bradford, the
Mm.
big fight was yesterday, Canelo Crawford, and keeping an eye on all things sport as I do, the tennis and everything else that, much like yourself, keep an eye on rugby league all weekend too. The Raiders and the Broncos in a thriller yesterday.
Oh,
Your Warriors, mate. It was your year for about 25 rounds, and
far out. We
then
fell
it
away.
wasn't. And then it wasn't
Oh,
very, very quickly. So, yeah, great weekend, mate. Enjoyed lots of sport as always and family time. What about yourself, mate? You get up to much?
mate, I had a really busy weekend. I covered the Wallabies on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Um,
Another deflating defeat. Oh,
Another surveying defeat
add it
for
to the
your boys.
list. Yeah.
Arsenal was my only bright spot. We'll get to it, but a great 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest. But the Warriors lost, got bundled out of the
Mhm.
finals. The All Blacks suffered their worst defeat in history to South
Oh,
Africa. I thought Liverpool was going to get denied 2 points last night. So the Arsenal win is the only thing keeping me going. Then I was out of the tennis covering the Davis Cup yesterday. Australia nearly pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in Davis Cup tennis history, but fell short there. So it's been a very big weekend. And then obviously last night for us, Sunday night, devastating news come through that Ricky Hatton passed away.
yeah.
Just 46. Terrible news, obviously. Steve and I are both big boxing guys. So that was rough news, but a nice tribute from Man City. He was a big Man City fan. They did a minute's silence ahead of the derby last night up there. So yeah, sad news. It was a roller coaster weekend. I'll put it that way. But let's get stuck into Arsenal. Let's get stuck into the 3-0. What are your top line thoughts? I was really pleased.
Yeah, absolutely, BB. Look, it was a fantastic performance. One that, in a funny way, this is going to sound kind of weird, but there's not a whole lot to say or dissect
Yeah,
about it. The
yeah.
context that it was as routine of a home victory as you're ever going to have. And there was sort of two or three key elements to me which keep me, I think as sort of as positive and as excited as I've been for a while, is that it was so comfortable defensively. Like Nottingham Forest did not have a quarter of a sniff. Now, I'm not going to buy
Mm,
into the whole, well, there's a new manager, a new style. At the end of the day in the Premier League, every team always usually has a half chance or something that gets created that can cause a problem. Whereas we weren't even one quarter. I think Reyes, they've talked about him having a lot of quiet games of late, a lot of clean sheets, 100 games, 42 clean sheets now. But that was as quiet as any game a top level keeper will have. I know we'll talk about United shortly, but Donnarumma debuted for City
yeah.
last night, and City were as comfortable as they're ever going to be against a woeful Man United. But Donnarumma still had to make two or three fantastic saves, right?
Mm,
David Raya did absolutely nothing. There was one which sort of looped over his head, and I think it was a bit awkward where I think he got a finger of it onto the crossbar. But outside of that, I don't think it would have gone in anyway. So outside of that, it was as comfortable as a performance defensively as I've ever seen, which I'm really happy with. Now, number two, I thought patience-wise, we were brilliant. Marino is really starting to show some real worth, and there's a bit of
mm.
competition for that midfield at the moment, which I like, and I dare say you might see a bit of that again midweek in Bilbao. I think he's going to go with the exact same team that he played against Liverpool a few weeks ago, and it'll be one of those proving everybody wrong type of teams. Like I'm going to play Rice, Marino, and also Zubamendi in the midfield, and sort of just solidly nullify a team. So that's a point we'll talk about later. But I think overall, pretty happy with the performance. Not bothered at all defensively, and scoring 3 goals was good. Victor Gyökeres in the right place at the right time is another one for me that I'm really pleased about. People can keep saying that he sort of has had a quiet game, a quiet start to the season, but we've bought him for that exact moment to just be there at the
Yeah.
right time. He scored a perfect time as well, just early into the second half, which in a way put the game to bed very early, and that's what we want. So a lot of positives to come out of it. No injuries from what I can tell. Everybody looks fit and looks ready to go for a big game on Wednesday morning our time, Tuesday night in Bilbao, and then we also get the 2 extra days rest on Man City ahead of the big game this weekend. So pretty happy overall, mate. It's funny. There's not a whole lot to talk about with it. It was a very comfortable routine win, one that's certainly setting us up now to show that we're going to take care of the teams at home, which has been our biggest problem for a very long time. Just win 19 out of 19 at home, get the points we need away from home, and crack on. So overall, mate, pretty happy. What are you thinking after the win, mate? And what are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, spot on with the Raya call. The looping one, I think I read on, I think it was Arseblog, where the cross comes whipping in and it just clattered off Chris Wood's tits. Basically, he didn't know much about it, and it just sailed
It did.
over.
It's like, oh yeah, yeah.
And yeah, but he got a finger to it. I don't know whether it was going to drop in or not, but that's about all he had to do. Yeah, again, like there's not a whole lot of criticism you could give. I thought Calafiori had maybe a step down from what he usually has, saying that he
Yep.
was one of the best players over the first season. He was nominated for player of the first month of the season. He's nominated for player of the month over the first month. He got
Yep.
caught out once for that cross that Chris Wood almost scored off his chest. He was sort of caught out there, but other than that, yeah, there's not a whole lot. I will say, what are we? We're the 15th of September right now, and I'll say I was wrong. I was wrong about Zubamendi. I've been doubting him for the first month. I've been saying, I don't know. Whereas everyone else, look, in my defence, I was pretty high on Noni Madueke from the start, and I know that a lot of
You
other
were,
people had
yes.
their
We're
controversial.
going to give credit to you for that because the whole of the Arsenal scene has hated on him.
Yeah,
And mate, you were spot on, mate. How good was he on the weekend?
he was amazing. But I like hard to go past Zubamendi as man of the match, even without the 2 goals. But if it wasn't him, it was Madueke. But I will say I was absolutely wrong about Zubamendi. But I will caveat that with one thing: is that it's I don't want to call it a balance thing. It's more like a pace or a speed or a timing thing where you need to get the partnerships right with that 3. So if Zubamendi's playing, certainly you can't have Rice and Odegaard. I don't think that works. They're
No.
too they're
Well
too
said.
they're too much the same speed. That they're arguably probably the 3 best midfield players that we have on their own. But yeah, he needs to figure out where it was. I was more impressed when Nwaneri came on
Yeah.
and played with Zubamendi and Marino.
Don't you
That
think though,
was good.
BB, he's got a conundrum? Do you think he's got a conundrum though in terms of Erdegaard injured again? He's fallen on like a bursa or something like that. Which I mean, he'll be healed up again in a week or 2. He'll be back again. He's just been off it for such a long amount of time, and we're in such a difficult position when it's your captain, your club captain,
Yep.
who, as well, at his very, very best, like in 22, 23, he can almost single-handedly win you a season. Like he's a brilliant player in that season. Had a sluggish sort of start to 23-4, then got injured. Mate, he's been basically injured on and off for the last 18 months. And then he started this season crap. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you still respect the guy and he's a club captain. But when Yeri came on and showed that he can be free around the ball and let the guys behind it, just Zubamendi looked like he had, freedom of range. He knew what to do. And then when Rice came on, we know Erdegaard, he looked better as well next to Zubamendi, where he's, those 2 have struggled so far this year. Marino's been glue. I mean, he's been fantastic so far. So what do you think about that? Because for me, he's not going to do it because of his stubbornness and probably because of what it means image-wise. But, mate, come November, if Erdegaard's still playing the way he is, he becomes a bench player. He becomes a League Cup, Champions League, FA Cup player because at the moment he's just not playing well at all.
Spot on. And that's the point, right? Like, it's not the worst problem to have, like, I've got too many good players and I can't fit in, the club captain and a great of the last sort of 5 years. But that is an issue that's going to come to head because you can't have all those 3 players on at the same time. Now, I saw a clip shared. I mean, he's only on the field for what, 6, 7, 8 minutes, something like that, Odegaard.
Yeah.
But there was someone shared a clip, decent sort of fast break counter. It gets to Odegaard on the edge of the box, and I think he turns back or passes back, and the kind of thing. The air came out of it. Whereas Nwaneri came on. He's had a shot. He's driving into the box. He's trying other things. Zubamendi, when he gets the ball in that position, I'm confident. Like I'm just more confident in Zubamendi's creativity. He's going to find something. Odegaard, it got to him, and the vibe for me with him over the past this season and what he played last season is just that. Yeah, it breaks down. Like he's going to get it, and it's going to be like, that wasn't. He's not going to find the pass, or he's going to. I don't know what it is, but look, it's not the worst problem to have. Look, likewise, when Saka comes back, like what do you do with the front three? Madueke's been awesome. Gyökeres is going
Yeah.
to play. Eze out on the left. I thought he's awesome. Trossard comes on, creates the third goal. Like, yeah, I've got no criticisms. Basically, it's all good stuff.
Like BB, there's no space for him, and you hate to say it, but like Eze was good on the left, but he'd be almost more creative in the middle. Then on the flip side of that, you've also got Wanyeri who's come in. What I want to liken that to is you remember when a couple of seasons ago, Phil Foden, BB, when he won Player of the Year in City's 23-24 title-winning side, he won Player of the Year in the year that they won the treble. He was absolutely outstanding, and he was exact sort of age as what Wanyeri is. Wanyeri is probably a little bit younger, to be fair to him. But at the same time, he is starting to feel like he's coming out of his shell. I mean, he's 18, 19 now. He's growing into his body. Foden wouldn't have been too much older than that. It would have been, early 20s. But he was given that license, and he had a Player of the Year season. He didn't exactly play on the right, and he wasn't exactly playing as a 10. He's almost playing as where you want Eze to be, right in between those lines, an 8.5, sort of a 10.5, that type of field. But that's what you're saying. And then Eze, I thought, showed glimpses as well. And if you get him into the middle, he'll be amazing. The three guys in the middle are looking really solid at the moment. I thought he needed the break, and I don't know why there was I saw a bit of criticism come out of Qatar of all places. Keys and Gray were, having a big whack about, resting Declan Rice. I'm like, mate, it's a right move. Look at what happens with Saka. He's just played 2 full games with England in Declan Rice's case. Yes, Mourinho has too, but, lower opposition, taking it easy. So all those right moves. Odegaard is the only square peg in the round hole at the moment, and I don't know what he's going to do to fix it, but I feel like in 1 to 2 months it's going to come to a head, and he's going to have to get dropped, and that's going to be tough. But at the same time, it has to happen sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And I think, look across the back, very happy with that 4. Miles Lewis-Skelly coming on. You lose absolutely nothing in replacement. Saliba, this time last year you'd be going, it's a crisis. But
but Mosquera,
I'm not going to say
Mosquera was outstanding. Like, he was unbelievable.
Look, I'm not going to say Saliba gets benched when he's back to full fitness, but Mosquera's been unreal. Like, you probably couldn't argue. Like, obviously, Saliba is your number one choice, but again, look, to preface all this, to caveat all this, Nottingham Forest were not great. Let's be honest. There is that, and it's a busy week this week and a tough game against City on the weekend. So obviously, we could be sitting here next week and say something different.
Yeah, you're spot on. I think overall we've just got to. It's positive signs for us, but you can only beat what's ahead of you, and that's been something that's been leveled for so many years. You've got these teams coming to your home ground, you still can't put them away. Well, if you're not happy with a comfortable 3-0 at home or 5-0 at home a few weeks ago versus Leeds, then you've got what will please us. So good signs. I think Bilbao will be a tough game. Realistically, it's probably close to our toughest game of the Champions League. Bilbao away, Inter Milan away. Outside of that, it's a pretty cruisy draw as well. So getting a big result this week will be extremely important. And then you set up for City, at home, which they're a good side. They had a much better performance last night, but they're very, very beatable. And realistically, outside of a few, Doku was fantastic last night. Haaland was fantastic last night. But outside of that, and if you can nullify, I don't even know how you say nullify Rodri and Reinders. They don't need sort of nullification because they're very solid midfield players. But if you can keep them out of the game, I think, your Zubimendi's and Marinos will relish a challenge, and I think we'll be in a good position. So you're spot on. Let's just get through this week. I think Bilbao away will be massive, and then prepare for a big game in the Premier League before it's sort of a bit of a quieter end to this little period before the next international break.
Yeah, spot on. I think the way we've been playing defensively so far, like you say, City's beatable. It'll take something like Doku dribbling past like 3 blokes and crossing to Foden, or a piece of Foden magic. That's what it feels like. But City very beatable. Like should be aiming for 3 points there. Let's touch on Liverpool, the other sort of team at the top. I say, let me paint you a picture. I go. Indulge me in this little story here, but Australia's playing Belgium in the Davis Cup. Davis Cup is 5 matches, 4 singles and a doubles, and best of 5. So first team to 3 match wins. Belgium wins the 2 singles on Saturday. They have three matches on the Sunday. They just need to win one. Australia needs to win all three to stage this comeback. The doubles is first up. Belgium win the first set of the doubles. Starts at 1 p.m. on a Sunday. Belgium wins the first set. 3-3 in the second set. Belgium have 3 tiebreak opportunities. And I'm sitting there going, happy days. I'll be out of here in an hour tops. I'm going home.
Yeah.
It's 2:30. I'll be at home at 4. Like Belgium couldn't convert any of the break points. Belgium
break
couldn't
points.
convert any of the
I knew what you meant,
points.
mate. You asked me to indulge you, BB, and I'm doing just that.
they bugger up from love 40. They lose the second set. They lose the doubles. Alex de Minaur comes out, wins his singles rubber, and then the third singles goes to 3 sets. And I'm still out at the tennis at 9:30 last night. Me and Darren Walton sitting there going, mate, we could have been finished 6 hours ago.
It was a go, yeah. Comfortably watching Canelo Crawford, comfortably watching the rugby league.
yeah. So then I drive home and I get a message, oh, Ricky Hatton's just passed away. Oh, shit. So I write that up. So I finally finished, at about 11:15. I thought, oh, happy days. Liverpool's on. And I sit there and it's at Burnley, just 10 behind the wall.
5-4-1.
Score. Yeah, mate, the possession stats are something like, Burnley's only had 22% possession or something. And I'm like, mate, it's going to be a draw. And I dead set fell asleep. I couldn't stay. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I fell asleep at about 88 minutes going, all good. And then I woke up this morning. I saw about 4 text messages from you going, these, they can't get you away with it. I was like, what's happened?
Yeah.
Vitriol down your
vitriol from me coming to you at about 01:02 hours of the morning, like just absolutely flipping it, mate. I thought they were home too. They were as comfortable as anything. Liverpool were pretty poor, I thought. I mean, again, this is coming from a few Liverpool supporters I know as well, getting their analysis this morning, because sometimes you're in that echo chamber, BB, where you just want a team to drop points so bad, and you're like, well, am I seeing the same thing that they are? But I thought they were poor overall, similar to how they were quite poor against us. But as a sign of a champion team, BB, and as they do, they managed to sneak it. But look, I don't think in this case you can say it was a moment of magic in the Szoboszlai case or anything like that. This was pure luck, mate. They were kissed on the proverbials, as the old expressions go, mate. This was a brain explosion from Hannibal. I cannot believe he even thought, like, he puts his arm up and it didn't even look exactly like he was in the box as well. I mean, not that matters at the moment. I mean, it was probably, in the box, but just what a ridiculous, moment from Hannibal, an ex-Mank, ex-Man U player as well, which just makes it even worse. But Burnley were fantastic. I thought Scotty Parker's had some really tough, initiations in the Premier League. I think he's been relegated a couple of times and had some pretty rough runs. But he's been sacked. Sorry, I know he's sacked from Tottenham, wasn't he? Like, he's had a few rough runs, Scott Parker. But basically, the situation with him is that he set them up beautifully. It was a 5-4-1 that was executing perfectly, and then realistically, they were going to get through it. They didn't really have any attacking threat, at all, which was a real shame that there was never a point where they actually threatened Liverpool. But at the same time, to give away that penalty, and then I don't know, it felt there was something I wanted to say, is that it felt inevitable. It just really did. I don't know why, but there was just something about that game of like, well, Burnley is so comfortable here, but what's going to go wrong? Or it just almost felt like there is no way in the world they're not going to win this game, Liverpool. And for whatever reason, and however it came about, in this case, it was an absolute farce of a situation. They got the job done. Salah lined up the penalty and absolutely belted it home, and that's what we expected. So, real shame, mate, gutting. And then I thought, well, what better thing to do than to just barrage you with text messages of of pure anger at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, because it was at that point, it was like, well, if they'd have dropped points, I thought, maybe I'll sit through the Manchester derby now and and see what happens on a bit of a high that we're only 1 point off the lead. And then that's happened, and I've gone, all right, forget that, mate. No chance I'm doing anything else, mate. Back to off to bed, and I'll catch the game this morning, the United City game. So look, real shame. I think it won't last for Liverpool, but as we were talking about just off air earlier, getting points is absolutely massive. Like, getting those results is what is so big. And for them, you can't discount how big of a result that is, for them. And they're still, miles clear at the top now. I know it's early, but 3 points clear is a reasonable lead at the moment.
Yeah, like you say, I thought watching, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, I'm thinking it's got to happen sometime. Like, they'll get a goal sometime. And it
Mhm.
was only when Federico Chiesa missed a clear open header,
The
and I
header,
thought,
yes.
and I
Yeah.
thought, maybe not,
Across his
maybe
body.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
no one there, no, he was free. And I thought, oh, maybe not. But yeah, that's the way it goes. Look, it can't keep going like this. Look, Liverpool cannot keep getting away with these ones. The worrying thing is that they're not playing well. Salah's not playing great.
Oh, Wirtz
They're
is
not.
helpless at the moment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
TK
So
was quiet. Isaac wasn't even in the
yeah.
squad. I mean, it's
Oh,
scary times. Yeah.
so once it does start clicking, that's yeah, that's the worrying point because they're
Hmm.
still with 12 points from 4 games, and they've
Hmm.
been playing like shit and just getting away with it. So what
Yeah.
happens when they
Spot on.
start clicking? That's the worrying thing.
Yeah, and they got
Anyway,
Everton this week. I mean, that's again. They got Everton this week in a Merseyside derby. I think Everton will be up for it. Everton made a lot better, but at
mm,
the same time, like beating or getting a result at Anfield is always difficult, right? So that's going to be tough as well. And if they go 5 from 5, I tell you what, it's the pressure's on because they'll be 6 ahead of us, going into the City game already. So pressure's on, but that's what it's all about. Though winning at the highest level is about pressure, and you need to be able to deliver on that. So very curious to see how it's going to eventuate and carry on.
perfect, mate. Well said. We'll wrap it up here for another episode. We'll be back and we'll do it probably same time next week. Arsenal's
Yep.
early Monday, yeah. So we'll do it Monday morning next week, mate.
Perfect time, mate. We'll do it first thing Monday, ready to talk about what should be a good win over City. Let's hope anyway,
Let's
mate. But
go.
great times, interesting times, great season shaping up at the moment. We'll also be able to talk about some Champions League stuff midweek. So plenty to talk about next week and very much look forward to it, mate.